Good morning and welcome you back. Just now we concluded an interesting session on value management. Value management is a subject which is perceived differently by executives from different professions, different domains, and different sectors. We had an opportunity to listen to 13 of senior executives about their perceptions of value management and how it is likely to be impacted by the pandemic and how are they planning to sustain the value in their respective organizations. So, wonderful session and lot to learn. Thank you very much for all the 13 panelists now. Now going forward, I'm taking you to an interesting session on how the pandemic has impacted business with a special address by two very well known, very highly accomplished top executives. On one side, I have a senior executive from manufacturing, and on the other hand, I have a very senior executive from advertising agency, which is a service sector. On manufacturing side, I have none other than Mr. Kamal Bali, a well-known name among the manufacturing sectors, the president and managing director of Volvo Group India. It is a delight to listen to him. On the other hand, I have Mr. Raj Kamble, a well-known advertising man with plenty of awards in his name, globally known advertising man. He's going to inform us about the impact of pandemic on the advertising industry and probably how the customers are going to be affected by the pandemic and how to engage them back and how to win them back through effective communications. So with these two persons with us, I would now invite Mr. Kamal Bali to take over and enlighten us with his thoughtful talk.
Professor Uday Solanke, the Group Director, Wellington Institute, Dr. Murthy, the Conference Chair, my dear friend Dr. Manohar, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. I am delighted to join you all and share my perspectives on the very relevant theme at the second International Conference on Management Skills and Growth Strategies in the post-pandemic period, organized by the Wellington Institutions and the V School. Friends, when I step back a bit and reflect upon the phenomena of change already in our ecosystem, prompted by the so-called VUCA world, was already bringing large amount of paradigm shifts. As if this was not enough, the last 1 year has seen the world being saddled and challenged by once-in-a-century kind of pandemic, seriously challenging lives and livelihoods. COVID-19 has indeed triggered an unprecedented humanitarian crisis, prompting attention of governments, scientists, health professionals, academicians, leaders, managers, communities, to the several resultant challenges. In a span of only weeks and months, the practices and priorities of the world seem to have changed dramatically. The pandemic has actually transformed the way we think, the way we work or engage with one another. However, be that as it may, the cloud of this pandemic has also brought some unintended opportunities and silver linings for us. The geopolitical equations have also changed with the ensuing need to rebalance global value chains with a more balanced and diversified manufacturing footprint in particular, from the current levels where just one country accounts for almost 1/3 of global manufacturing output today. It is estimated that nearly $4 trillion worth of manufacturing output will be rebalanced over the next 4 to 5 years. This opens up rare prospects for India to occupy a significant share in the global manufacturing from the current meager level of 3% share. Gentlemen and ladies, a mere 10% share in the shift towards India translates to doubling India's manufacturing output to from $400 billion to $800 billion, and a 20% shift would mean Indian manufacturing output could transcend the 1 trillion mark and to become $1.2 trillion manufacturing economy in India itself. With this scenario, there can be no better socio-economic opportunity for India to provide employment and opportunities to its growing young workforce, where 100 million workforce is likely to be added in the next 10 years. And with the country's ambition of hitting 10 trillion economy mark by the year 2030. However, there are several leadership challenges pertaining to the required skills, upskilling, cost and ease of doing business, 50% dropout prior to secondary school, low levels of formal vocational education, lack of gender diversity and competitiveness that need to be addressed. Clearly, India needs jobs and economy needs skills. That is the dichotomy. India needs jobs and economy needs skills. But this is undoubtedly India's opportunity or India's decade to my mind. At the other end of the spectrum, there are clear mega trends that need attention. Let me share some of these with you all. Number one, the growing digitalization and disruptive technologies with focus on connected and autonomous solutions, shared economy, and clean energy. So I think that's the first mega trend which we have to track. The second is changing consumer buying behavior, which means contactless buying experience, more shift to e-commerce and all of that. Three, preference for outcomes and solutions instead of products. Customers prefer outcomes and solutions more and more than products. That's the third shift which is taking place. The fourth is changing geopolitical equations, which I've already talked about, including the realignment of global value chains. Five, growth of asset-light business models. This we have been seeing over the last 5 to 6 years with the growth of Olas and Ubers and Oyo Rooms of the world. We have been seeing this. Number six, changing ways of working with focus on adaptability, collaboration, and innovation by working on platforms with a spirit of cooperation. I think that's one major shift which I'm going to touch upon a little later. And the next one is the need for holistic sustainability. This used to be a lip service for very long, but this has now become a very, very serious matter, and it's going to be very, very tangible in nature as to what are we doing towards environment, towards society, towards economic efficiencies, and towards ethical ways of doing business. So unless you tick those 4 boxes of being environmentally friendly, socially inclusive, economically viable, and ethically moral, I think you will not be able to make the success which we have seen in the past. Clearly, as the strategic and operating landscapes are constantly changing, transforming, so is the role of a leader. The new leadership paradigm is fast changing from the classical top-down leadership to the need of providing empowerment. Leaders are seen as coaches, as people who can empower, guide, which means that one-way communication and feedback mechanisms do not hold any water. The key lies in transformation of leadership and management approaches, embracing and staying ahead of the shifts that are being presented. Ladies and gentlemen, effective leaders need to engage in dialogues with their teams to help them prioritize, remove barriers, and coach them to embrace their strengths in order to realize their potential. In this new landscape, as a leader, one must identify those trigger points where you need to have a continuous dialogue with your people. The typical triggers could be, for example, team member is struggling with a project or a task which he or she has been given, or someone in the team is overloaded with work, or an employee achieves success or needs to be recognized. I think all these are triggers which need to be seen very, very carefully. Let me now specifically share some of the critical management skills, approaches, and growth strategies in the new normal. One, the need for resilience and continuous learning. I think this is very important. Let me explain this a bit. This in an unpredictable future, the significance of the word continuous has grown several folds, such as continuous improvement for innovation, continuous collaboration for business outcomes, continuous learning for employee growth, continuous listening for employee experience, continuous dialogues for employee engagement. So I think the word continuous is going to become very, very critical and a way forward in our ways of working. The second is, sectors are converging, reconfiguring, and no single domain is unaffected by digitalization, connectivity, and changing consumer trends. So enhancing capabilities, capacities, and competencies is the only way for building resilience in our workforce and in our economic ecosystem. Second, entrepreneurial spirit. I think this is very important. A large organization is no guarantee for future success. In the world of startups and paradigm shifts, we have to use scale, but think like an entrepreneur or a startup. I think this is a message very, very clearly for larger organizations. And this shift is visible very, very clearly across the spectrum of industries. Number three, collaboration will be the key to managing change. With the world converging, the future will be defined by multi-stakeholder initiatives. Collaborating with people and functions outside your domain will be a norm, as traditional boundaries within the value chain are getting blurred. What is inside your organization, what is outside your organization, these boundaries are getting blurred. And this is very important understanding that how we need to cooperate and work as teams on different platforms. That's going to be the key. The recipe for success here would be the 3-point approach of transparency, trust, and collaboration. I hold these three terms very, very close to my heart. TTC, transparency leading to trust, trust leading to collaboration. It doesn't work any other way. So that's the way to reach there. Number 4, working for the larger good. Now, this is a very, very important. It may sound philosophical, but actually it is the real thing which is happening in this world. Future employees are becoming more sensitive with regards to the overall purpose of the organization they serve. Nations require larger good of its citizens is achieved by coming together of industry, government, and society. Not creating value for larger good of the society will be frowned upon. So I think it is very critical that organizations create value for the purpose is clear for employees to get galvanized to that purpose. Number 5, engaged organizations, leaders have a greater chance of succeeding and being ready for the future. It is no longer how competent, how well managed your organization is. What matters is how engaged your organization is with its people. That's something very, very important, because engaged organizations are able to spot risks, collaborate for change, and come together under a shared vision for better than those which are not. Number 6, creating purpose and visions and answers to why we do what we do. I think this is another very critical aspect in business. Organization purpose must be entwined to the industry it belongs to, as well as to the nation, the environment, and the people. That is where organizations will receive maximum support and will have a sustainable future. Most organizations know what they do. Some organizations also know how they do it. But however, very few organizations know why they do what they do. So why is not about making money, which is the result. It is a purpose, cause, or a belief, the very reason for existence of the organizations. So, and number 7, organization culture is the most discerning and competitive tool. I think, so there are 2 steering systems in any organization, as most of you know, and one is the structure, other is the culture. And it's actually the balancing of the 2 steering systems which actually lead to the final success of the organization. And culture, to my mind, is a very, very important piece. And normally we deter from really spending more time on culture. We try to fix the structure, which is the easier and the faster piece to do. But I think almost everything can be copied, but not an organization's culture. because that is developed and nurtured over some key beliefs, thoughts, and behaviors and actions. Culture can become the common unifying thread that binds the organization together. I mean, in our own case, in case of Volvo, let me share the example of what is our culture. We are saying we want to be perform and transform ready, perform and transform at the same time. In the current setup, where we want to hold high the values of enabling customer success, embracing change, demonstrating mutual trust, work with passion to ensure high performance. That's one. We want to break down silos and act as one team. I think this is very, very critical. Be open-minded, transparent, and a caring organization. And focus on values, not on rules. I think that's something very critical because there are so many situations which will come up in the life of an organization where you may not have a SOP or a protocol or a rule. That is where the ingenuity of your people will work. So I think the value driven organization will find answers to those situations which a normal organization will not. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, these are some of the things which I wanted to share with you. I hope you will consider some of the perspectives that I have shared and pursue the journey of imparting high quality and inclusive education and learning to make India the hotspot of talent and high performance. I'm sure an institution like V School will take this initiative forward and, as always, will rise to the occasion of making India first. Thank you all. May you have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamal Bali, for that wonderful and insightful session. Now I would like to invite Mr. Raj Kamble, a famous ad man and the Chief Creative Officer of Famous Innovations, a leading advertising agency in the country, to come and talk about how advertising is impacting the customer engagement in the post-pandemic period. Mr. Raj Kamble.
Yeah, hi guys. Thank you for inviting me to give a talk here. I think it's a interesting subject. Anyways, my name is Raj. I work in an ad agency. I write ideas for the brand. What does that exactly I do? What that mean? Look at the picture. I look so cool in that. And look at this is what reality is. But that's what we do. We make everything glamorous. And we convince the people to buy things that they don't need it, perhaps. Fun apart, I love what I do. And today is very interesting subject. I like to talk about it. Engaging the consumer into the post-COVID world. I think very interesting subject, and engaging the consumer in the post-COVID world is a why will consumer care for your brand when there is a own house is in a trouble. See, today the world is changing dramatically after COVID. Everybody's conscious. Last 9 months, people at home, and they don't know about their own jobs and their family's health. So I think they're so busy with their own world. Earlier, many people have sometime was conscious, but after the COVID is much more conscious, and every single brand they're going to engage, they will be very careful in the future about, is this a right brand? It is a brand that actually going to add value in my life or society's life. So the lots of things he's going to look up to in the future. So when it comes to the brand, consumer only care about two things. One is very simple, that what will I get if I use this brand? A typical benefit, like if I use this cream, my skin will be a soft. If I use this deodorant, the girl will come to my life. Or I will say, if recently you saw the story that if I use this oil, I will be healthy, except the Saurav Ganguly. But if I use this shorting suit, I will look beautiful. I think that is basically we exaggerate the story and we tell you. So benefit is you look good, you look smart, kind of a thing. We sell people a dream. And the second other thing is if I use this product, what people will think about me. So somebody says, "Oh, you look amazing in this car," my reflection, then I will buy the car. So if I buy tomorrow Apple computer, Apple mobile, that means I'm smart or I'm a cool. If I'm buying tomorrow Economic Times, that means I'm intelligent. I'm reading economics means I'm intelligent. Or today I have a Rolex, that means I arrive in a life. It's basically is a kind of a is a reflection. Brand reflect me who I am. So I am what I use. That is the other way of advertising portray the people. If you use this product, this is who you will be. This is how people will look at you. So this is a two standard thing, and this has become a more critical in the post-pandemic world, as a consumer are more conscious than ever. I think uh, uh, people are very conscious now in general. Uh, Earlier, advertising, selling it, everything, but now, as I said earlier, is this product I'm buying or this brand is ethical? Because lots of things happen in last 9, 10 months. Uh, Lots of eye opener. The people who I'm living in the society, the right society, do I need this big house, the 5 bedroom, and only two people staying in my house? Uh, this brand is supporting something environment friendly brand. This car is carbon footprint. So sustainability brand is helping the community. Many things our consumer are start looking towards brand because he's giving a money, he's wearing it that brand, he's consuming it. So all those things are very important after the post-pandemic world is already started and is going to be more and more relevant. So here are the some ways brand can keep winning. Uh, Here are some ways brand can keep winning in the post-pandemic businesses. So one very important part in a consumer's life is a reassurance. So whichever brand, uh, uh, Kevin made, as I said, Kevin made everyone conscious. Uh, is any brand any brand can tell them that this is safe, this is a hygiene, this is a clean, your family will be fine. I will, I will consider that product, but otherwise is a tougher. So, but reassurance, any product giving the reassurance is a very important after this pandemic thing. So, example, this is a great example. Like, look at the two bottle of water. Both are water bottle, but one is a just a water and one is a distillery. One is a free, one you're paying money. But you're paying money not for the water. Water is a free in the glass of water, but here you're paying now for the blue color. That means the trust. And somebody says, "Oh, now the distillery or any packaged bottle water is slightly more expensive. I will pay more money because that is a requirement, and I'm buying not water. I'm buying a safety." Look at the next visual here is left hand side shows. I mean, this is not this is old also. Left hand side, I can say I'm buying just a canvas shoes. Right hand side, I'm buying a Nike, not a shoes. I'm buying a Nike. That means I'm a more I have a sporty attitude. I'm more cooler. I'm more hip. Uh, I Whatever that imagery brand created, I like to associate with that brand. So I'm not buying the shoes. I'm buying that black swoosh on the shoes for buying a coolness. Or here is a great example. Vada pav is a national food for Mumbai, but very interesting that last around 3 months ago, we have got the Burger King is our biggest client. We launched their IPO, and it was surprise that we did all the record breaking result from this Burger King IPO. I grew up with the fast food is the bad food, and that's where the whole nation is. But what happened? What suddenly this fast food giant going crazy and IPO doing a record breaking is even those small slums and chawls and to all the way up, people are very conscious about hygiene. So I think the vada pav where you buying on the road versus buying a burger in the proper store. So and they're also giving a good price. So people are still, I think after like this pandemic, people are moving towards more hygiene, more clean, more safe, more secure. And last 3 4 months ago, I realized the stock is going up that madness, because there is a world who are looking something on the right hand side, where we actually grow up in the left hand side. But it changed people's perception that my staple local food versus a clean hygiene food. uh, I think that is where the future is. Look at the next slide. I think they subscribed 157 times more. So something is, even the small town to big town, people want the hygiene, clean, and everything. So any brand give them a reassurance that I'm there for you. You're fine. You're safe. People are going to people are going to accept that. Another very important part is empathy. Any brand in the world today, uh, uh, anybody who likes the brand, who understand them, the brand who talk their language, the brand can understand what's happening in my life. uh, I think if I felt that brand understands me, that they have a chances, I will consider that brand. Okay, here is one video I made recently for Burger King. uh, people were 8 9 months at home, and there's no people are trying experiment different foods, and food get failed, and people don't know what to do. Some people are making rotis and things, and Burger King came and say, hey, we understand what you're going through. Don't worry, whatever you cook, take a picture and send it to us, and we will send you a Whopper. We did this around 6 months ago, and we got a super success. It just shows brand understand what you're going through. So empathy is very, very important. So this is the video. And empathy means don't have to be a serious, like somebody come and hug you. Empathy means just I'm there for you. I understand. It can be light-heartedly, it can be fun, it can be a shocky way, but empathy is empathy. We can execute it 100 different ways. So I think we don't have to compromise the value or a tone of a voice for the brand. And this one video we have created. Another important part is innovations. I think innovation is always going to help us whenever the issue is, and this pandemic, every brand has to be innovative. Uh, uh, I think innovation is you're a guide in a crisis, how to move out from this. All the innovative brand only going to be come out in much better in this crisis. Like a alcohol company start making a sanitizer, and that was a requirement to how the sanitizer business also did very good for them. Uh, I think is uh, understand the consumer problem and solve it in the most innovative way. Whichever brand they have done it, they sustained and made amazing fortune of this. Uh, if I want to get this message very clearly, recently, I think very really good ad made by Cadbury's. They realized that just this is not the time to sell more Cadbury's. This is the time to innovate. And what they did, they made an ad, and they put lots of other local brands, sold it, because nobody's going to go to local stores for survive. Local stores were struggling, and how Cadbury supported the local stores in their own ad. So they make an ad for Cadbury, but they're smart enough to say that we understand we're an innovative company. We're not only going to sell our product, but we will help you to sustain the other small ecosystem, small stores. And they made a Cadbury ad, but they put all the small store names, so you can also go there and buy that product and keep that ecosystem alive. So very good ad done by Cadbury's.
India's home to more than 6 crore small businesses, and they've been fighting for survival after the coronavirus outbreak and the lockdowns.
Presenting not just a Cadbury ad. We advertised not just for ourselves, but for thousands of small businesses across India.
I love it.
The idea was innovative, but the technology and execution was challenging. Most of the stores in India don't have a digital presence. So we had to manually feed our system to create a database of local retailers, mapping them to their location, which we identified through PIN codes. As the ad was served to an individual, an algorithm grow located the PIN code and then mapped the various local stores in that PIN code and served the one closest to the individual in real time. The AI-enabled system created thousands of permutations for the localized version of the same ad. So many that it is even impossible to track. This resulted in the first ever hyper-personalized ad ever. One that ensured every single person that saw the ad supported a local store. Because when all of us support our local stores, all of us can have a happy Diwali. Not just a Cadbury ad.
Yeah, so I think it was not just the ad actually. I love Cadbury, but I love the brand and the innovation they use it to make a Cadbury ad, but supporting other brands. So somewhere emotionally, I engage with the brand, and I love Cadbury more than ever after seeing this ad. So they use innovation to consumer and get the emotion out of all of us. I think the other example I can show you, when people telling outside, the police and everybody telling people don't go out, don't leave your house, stay at home. But we as Indians, we like to be rebel. We don't like to stay. And our Miami Art School, Mumbai, couple of students did a campaign. I think it's a great idea, telling people don't go out. So what they did, we have a big client called Netflix, and they did a proactive campaign for Netflix saying, if you go out, there are spoilers. So any TV show you're watching at home, you go out, you can see the last, what is the where the film is going to finish. And if you see the spoiler, doesn't make any sense, you're going to watch the whole thing. So just blackmail them. If you go out, you can see the spoilers. And that also did very good. That also very innovative way to engaging a consumer and win their hearts. It's a great example.
Signals crossed, got my cake to frost. Misinterpretate me, damn, I got shit to do. Get my signals crossed, got my cake to frost. Misinterpretate me, damn, I got things to do.
It's a good example, right? I think it's funny. Anyway, here's a couple of other examples: a small brand, big brand, couple of our brands. Everyone trying to be innovative in this tough time and is very successful. If you can see that is a hoodie is covering a mask, or is a social distancing hat for Burger King, or a towel on the beach, or a beer putting a 6 feet long distance between when you're having a drinks with your friend. So tell you how long social distancing you to keep it. Or Volkswagen launch a car that absolutely a digital launch. Normally there's lots of budget and money, and you have to physical and the reveal of the car, but they did everything digital, super success. So I think how brand, when they stay innovate in this tough time, they sustain. So, and when you innovate and you help people in your most innovative way, the consumer likes you, and I think they will remember in this tough time you helped them, stand with them, had a good time with them, and I think this is it. I think empathy, reassurance, and innovation. The three things are going to be the key people for post-COVID pandemic and marketing. Yep. I hope you enjoy this. Thanks a lot once again. Bye.
Good morning, eminent panelists and audience. As you're aware, we are here today to attend the very second international conference on management skills and growth strategies being held at Principal Ellen Wellinger Institute of Management Development and Research, Mumbai in India. I am Ravi Vaidi, Deputy Dean Marketing and a faculty in marketing, the moderator for this session. So welcome aboard, and thank you for being with us, dear panelist members. The topic for the day today, on the overarching theme, is all about customer engagement, the challenges and business strategies in post-COVID business. Indeed, a very apt topic, probably not just for the day, but even for the whole decade going forward, because COVID has really brought us down to a complete lockdown, forcing us to reflect upon all aspects of life and all aspects of businesses. And truly, I don't think anyone at this point in time really knows when this is all going to end. We're all keeping our fingers crossed, praying hard, working hard, and hoping that at some point in time we will find relief and move on as business as usual. The only thing that we live upon, as one said very well, is perpetual optimism leading to a force multiplier. And indeed, that has been the driver for us. It's now in such a circumstances where COVID has brought about a whole lot of changes in the marketplace. Look at every stakeholder in the ecosystem, and there is some marked change. Some of them are here to stay for good, and some of them are temporary, but it's there as a change. Just talk about social distancing, and I'm not so sure whether we should call it social distancing or should we call it physical distancing, because we all need to continue to be social. So if I say physical distancing or social distancing, something that we are never used to, because we have a whole lot of functions, festivals that we come together and live as a society, enjoy as a society, and engage with the society. So that's a big one. Delivery channels have changed. Gone are the old systems of delivery channel. Some of them are gone for good, some of them are there, but new delivery channels, online businesses are booming and burgeoning under such circumstances. And I'm not so sure the market leaders and businesses are able to meet up to those demands. Look at the digital transformation that we're having. A huge amount of digital transformation, huge amount of digital payments. Considering a land in India where we said we are technologically a little backward, but today we seem to be in the forefront, having accepted and adapted to digital changes and digital transformation like a fish to a water. Now, in all these circumstances, it is now understood that we have to expect the unexpected. Now, this puts pressure on businesses and leaders to not just look at those challenges as challenges, but can we see some opportunities in those challenges? And can we work around those challenges and draw up some good, feasible, implementable strategies that help engage with these customers? And the new order of the day is the customer is no longer buying a product. he is buying it with a purpose. He's buying it for a purpose. Brands have to now fulfill purposes. And in those conditions, it's extremely important for businesses and leaders to sit back and analyze not just the data for today, but the data for tomorrow and the strategies for tomorrow. In the process, try and get ourselves completely prepared as much as we can, if not, for the future, where again, expect the unexpected will be the norm going forward. In the process, can we look at adversities as opportunities to surge forward, thus bringing business leaders and businesses to draw up a business continuity plan, a risk register, critical for the future. With these few words, and nothing more on this subject because I don't want to take the thunder away from our eminent panelists, I'm now going to introduce our four very eminent panelists, where we have a good blend of international and national well-known panelists who are then going to share their thoughts on the topic. So, may I, with your permission, start introducing our panelists. To begin with, welcome Giuseppe Stiliano, Chief Executive Officer at Wunderman Thompson, Italy. Dr. Stiliano is an entrepreneurial manager with 15 years of international experience in marketing and communication services. We then have Dr. Shefali Gupta, Professor, Strategic Marketing, MICA, India. Shefali Gupta is a professor at MICA in the area of strategic marketing and an associate editor with Journal of Strategic Marketing. Welcome, Dr. Shefali. The third speaker for us is Mr. Prasad Shejale, founder and CEO, Logic Serve Digital, an entrepreneur with experience of working not just in the Indian digital marketing space, but also in the global digital space. Our next speaker for the day is Mr. Swami Krishnan. Welcome, Mr. Krishnan. Swami is the Vice President and Head of Marketing and Communications at Sasken Technologies Limited, where he has played various leadership roles over the last 10 plus years. In his current role, he oversees marketing, internal and investor communication. So with that, I'm now going to leave the floor open to our eminent panelists to share your thoughts and experiences and enrich the audience with your inputs. All yours. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for having me with you today. I'm very happy to take part to this event for at least one reason. I am a big fan of the past. I strongly believe that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. And 25 centuries ago, the ancient Greeks thought that when you explore the future, when you try to understand what will happen, you actually walk backwards because you know exactly where you come from, but you don't know where you're going. So walking backwards for them meant also that you tend to base your decisions on what to do. In our case, for our business, you base your decisions on what you know. And that's not necessarily what you actually need to do in a moment like this, in a moment in which everything is changing at the speed of an algorithm and at the speed of a virus. The pandemic is producing an acceleration of the acceleration on a number of trends. So digital transformation was already an acceleration of our world, imposing companies to change, to adapt, to evolve. And the pandemic has been another acceleration. It's brought even more speed to the process. The result is that we're not walking backwards anymore. We're now running backwards. And as you can imagine, when you run backwards, the chances that you break your head are very high. The chances that you take the wrong decision, you hire the wrong person, you have not the right skills in your team, you take the wrong direction, you work on the wrong strategy, the chances that you incur in such errors and such mistakes are very high, because we're running backwards. We know where we're coming from. We tend to base our decisions on that, but the reality is that we're going somewhere else. So I guess events like this one are exactly what we need. These moments in which we stop, we pause, and we try to understand where we're going are exactly what we need in such a world, in such a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. So thanks for having me today with you, and thanks for letting me share my point of view with you. The title of this event, Customer Engagement Challenges and Strategies in the Post-COVID World, is very, very interesting. 2 words: challenges and strategies. That's exactly the focus of what I would like to share with you today. Challenges. Why challenges? Why are we assuming that companies and people will face challenges in the near future? Well, just because it is 100% sure we're running backwards. Of course we will face challenges. And the reason we're facing challenges, and we will face challenges, is that nobody has been trained for this world. We're not equipped. We haven't been trained for a post-pandemic, digitally accelerated world. We have no idea. And this is very important. We have to breathe and accept that we are not ready. We are not equipped. We are like the salt makers when electricity arrived. We were very skilled. We know everything about salt. We knew the market. We knew the logistic. We had a great brand. We had been selling salt for centuries, and of course companies and people were buying salt to preserve food. Then at some point electricity arrived and people started buying refrigerators to preserve food. So of course the salt makers had no idea on how to make a refrigerator. It was another job, totally different skills, another world. But the paradigm shift brought by electricity allowed a number of new companies, newcomers, to enter the market and to respond to the same needs in a totally different way. That's exactly what's happening today. Digital is like electricity. It's an invisible enabler of change. And if we don't get that, if we don't accept the idea that we are like the salt makers, meaning that we don't have the right skills, we're not ready, we're not been trained for it, we're not equipped, we don't get it. We don't get the digital transformation. Now, why don't we try to look at digital like electricity? And why don't we accept the fact that we're not equipped? That would be great, because it would force ourselves to study, to develop new skills, to acquire new skills, and to focus on what we need instead of keeping looking back. So yes, we will face challenges. And the other word is strategies. Well, yes, strategy is very important. What is strategy, by the way? Well, if we want to simplify, strategy is how to go from A to B. And we've been said that execution is way more important than strategy. And it's true. You know, it's all about execution. We could have the best strategy in the world, if we don't execute that strategy in the proper way, it would be nothing. I like that. I like this idea that execution is the only strategy that your clients will see. That's true. On the other hand, in a moment like this one, when you face a paradigm shift, which is not only the digital transformation, but on top of that, we have the pandemic, I'm not sure it's all about execution. I would argue that in this moment, strategy is paramount because we don't know what to execute. If we assume that this is another word, then we need different strategies. So usually execution was way more important than strategy because it's the only strategy that your clients will see. But in this specific moment in time, I would argue that we need strategy. We need planning more than plans. And when we make the plan, when we build the execution plan, we have to be ready to improvise. We have to accept the idea that in this world, especially because we don't know where we're going, running backwards, we have to allow ourselves to make mistakes, to try to make errors, and to iterate, and to try again, and to experiment, and so on and so forth. So usually execution is king. Today, strategy is what we need, but we need to have some flexibility in order to accept mistakes, to tolerate some ambiguity, because we don't know where we're going. We're running backwards. Now, if we accept this, if we accept that we're not ready, and that we need to focus on planning more than plans because we don't know where we go, and we need to focus on this agile way to make plans, the result would be, to me, the mindset that we actually need to face these challenges and to build together a post-pandemic world, a post-pandemic new normal. So let's assume that we are in the middle of a storm, right? It is the perfect storm as has been defined. Well, I agree with that. This is exactly the perfect storm for the reasons I mentioned before. We're blending the digital transformation with a pandemic. It's something incredible. We're not equipped. We're not ready. Now, when organizations face such a shock, they tend to react in three different ways. The first, due to the intensity of the shock, the company is not able to maintain the functionality of the system. It doesn't work. We can't find a solution. We are fragile. So the first option you have, the first reaction that the companies tend to have when they face a shock like this one is fragility. You break, you're not ready, you cannot face the situation. The second option is you work hard in order to maintain the functionality of the system. Well, in that case, if you succeed in finding an alternative way to maintain the functionality of the system, you prove yourself as an organization that you are resilient, which is the second option. You maintain the functionality of the system even though you have to face a big shock. Third option, which is the one that I like, is called anti-fragility. And it's when you not only try to maintain the functionality of the system, but when you try to do more than that, when you try not only to adapt and to cope with the situation, but to thrive in chaos, when you try to develop new skills in the middle of the shock, in the middle of the situation, you try to learn fast in order to start in a new way, with a very different approach. So you do not limit yourself. You do not rely only on your ability to maintain the functionality of the system. While you do that, you try to develop new skills so that you will be faster in the new normal. This is the case of, for example, a restaurant that, in order to maintain the functionality of the system, so first the restaurant has to refuse the fragility. So I don't want to close. Instead, I'll try to deliver. I'll try to develop new business models. I'll try to maintain the functionality of the system. Then you're resilient. But if on top of that, you say to yourself, well, yes, I've learned that during the lockdown, my only option was to deliver or take away. What if I develop new skills so that in the new normal, I will add these new skills to the previous ones and I will be stronger than before? This is about thriving in chaos, and this is the right attitude to me. So to wrap up, yes, we will face challenges and we need to accept that, because we are running backwards and we have no idea where we're going. Second, usually execution is the only strategy that your clients will see and is king. It is more important than strategy. But what I argue is that in this specific moment in time, due to the fact that we're running backwards, strategy is what we need. We need to make scenario planning. Otherwise, we won't be capable of improvise in the near future. Third, the strategy that we need today is very flexible, is very agile. It is more about experimentation and exploration than about making plans. And also, it is a strategy that allows you to adopt a continuous improvement approach in which the trial and error and the iteration is the key of your success. To close, yes, absolutely, this is the perfect storm, and we are in the middle of the storm. Yes, the best solution is to adopt an anti-fragile approach to the storm so that we will thrive in chaos. But as somebody that you should know very well once famously said, when you are in the middle of the storm, you have two options. One, you wait for the storm to pass. Two, you assume that the storm will be the new normal and you learn how to dance in the rain. I would go for this option. I would absolutely accept that change is the only constant today, and that the best skill that we can develop is the ability to adapt to the scenario, or in other words, the ability to learn how to dance in the rain. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here and to be part of this panel discussion today. The topic of my talk today is using innovation to engaging with customers in the time of crisis. Over the last few decades, the world has been experiencing various transformational shifts at micro and macro levels, such as climate change, the emergence of the pandemic, and the technological revolution. Every shift in any of these levels bring consequences to the businesses in the form of changes in customer expectations and how firms should strategize responding to customer expectations. Firms have to adopt customer-centric approaches while creating, delivering, and communicating value to address customer expectations and engage with them. A customer-centric approach that is putting the customer first and at the core of the business encourages firm to innovate at various upstream and downstream activities of a firm's value chain to achieve better customer engagement. Before we begin, let's have a look at the top priorities of commerce as it begins to navigate the new normal. The recent global study, which included 2,000 plus business professionals in small and medium enterprises and MNC firms in the developed and emerging markets during this pandemic time, suggested that following top 5 strategies. As we can see, customer experience emerges out as a very prominent and a top strategy among all the regions, and especially in the region of America and Europe. And we see that product development and innovation ranks within the top 3 priorities of every region and the top priority in the APEC region particularly. This is encouraging, as innovation might possibly be expected to be an area where spending is stripped back in the time of crisis. Another prominent strategy came out as extended reach, which looking to the new sector and territories is also a consistent priority among all the regions. As demand flatters in markets closer to home, it is natural for companies to look to new opportunities, which can be in form of diversification into new industry, which we can see as a top priority in all the regions, and the exploration of opportunities in new countries and territories, which can be seen more prominently in the region of Europe. Pandemic has heightened the importance and priority placed on innovation across the globe. Despite difficulties and setbacks, countries have continued to drive their innovation strategies to face the challenges posed by pandemic. Not only just global firms, but the Indian firms have also given increasing priority to innovations. And when Indian business executives were being asked, it was being seen that they are aligned with the global sentiments on the crucial role innovation can play for the societal and public health. The recent research suggests that Indian business executives recognize the role of new age technologies in innovation, and that innovation using artificial intelligence, machine learning will be even more critical in post-COVID-19 time. There has been a huge evolution in technology in last 2-3 decades, creating a greater impact in businesses. From the time when technology had little impact on society and businesses, technology evolution has witnessed the changes in the behavior and the way people connect with each other. We are in the era where technology is fully integrated in our lives, as well as in every activity of the businesses. There has been abundant growth, and with availability of numerous social media networks, companies have started formulating new strategies to articulate their customer satisfaction and started focusing on building potential clients by engaging their existing clients. Rapidly evolving technology transforms innovation practices and strategies. For instance, digital technology, including information and communication technology, improves access to resources, strengthens social capital and network relationships, enhances the outcome, and enlarges the value to the whole society with respect of speed, cost, and quality. And if we particularly talk about the new age technologies that are profoundly influencing innovation capabilities and incurring significant transformative shifts in society, new age technologies like Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, 3D printing, drones, and blockchain. Moreover, these new age technologies in the domain of social innovation facilitate spreading the advantages almost in all the sectors such as health, education, manufacturing, etc., to all those places covering the majority of the populace. I'll be discussing some of those social innovation in the last leg of my talk. The strategic question that drives business today is not what else can we make, but what else can we do for our customers and market
not the factory or the product, now stands at the core of the businesses. And we can see that the innovation makes its place in both upstream and downstream activities. The persistent belief that innovation is primarily about building better products and technologies leads manager to an over-reliance on upstream activities and tools. But the times are changing. The downstream reasoning suggests that managers should focus on marketplace activities and tools. Competitive battles are won by offering innovations that reduce customer cost and risk over the entire purchase, consumption, and disposal cycle. Considering the case of Hyundai, in the depths of the Great Recession 2008-2009, as the economy flattered, American job prospects looked painfully uncertain, and the consumer delayed purchases of durable goods. Automobile sales crashed through the floor. Hyundai, which primarily target lower income customers, was particularly hard hit. The company's US sales dropped by 37%. As overall demand plunged, the immediate response of most car companies was to slash prices and roll out discounts in the form of cashback offers and other dealers' incentives. Hyundai considered these options, but eventually looked at the different approach. It asked their potential customer, "Why are you not buying?" The resounding answer was, "The risk of buying during the financial crisis, when I could lose my job at any time, is simply too high." So instead of offering a price reduction, Hyundai devised a risk reduction guarantee to target that concern directly. So if you lose your job or income within a year of buying the car, you can return it with no penalty to your credit rating. Called the Hyundai Insurance, the guarantee acted like a put option, addressing the buyer's primary reason for holding back on the purchases of a new vehicle. The program was launched in January 2009. Hyundai sales that month nearly doubled, while industry-level sales declined by 37%, which was the biggest January drop since 1963. Hyundai sold more vehicles that month than any other car manufacturing company, which had multiple times as many dealerships as compared to Hyundai. Competitors could easily have matched Hyundai guarantee, yet they did not. They continued to slash prices and offer cash incentives. The Hyundai Assurance was a downstream innovation. Hyundai did not innovate to sell better cars. It innovated by selling cars better. An innovation at the delivery side. Reducing cost and risk for customer is central to any downstream tilt. Indeed, it is the primary concern of creating downstream value. Not surprisingly, many of the cases we have examined illustrate this. Facebook reduces its customer cost of interacting with friends. Coca-Cola reduces the customer cost of finding a cool, refreshing drink. So moreover, in crisis, the innovative customer-centric offering, deliberating on the resources, access, and constraints is expected to have a higher diffusion and engagement level. Along with, firms are continually leveraging technology to engage with their customers. For example, new age technologies like Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, and cloud help managers develop the market intelligence that reshapes the firm's decision, such as technology innovation expands the firm's digital boundaries to reach potential customers and form a profitable customer base. So if we look at what is innovation, we all know it is something to create new, something different. Usually we categorize it as radical innovation and innovations which are disruptive and change the world. And incremental innovation, which are based on improvement in the existing system to make an offering better than before. However, we can also view innovation along two criteria. the genesis of the innovation, and leadership behind the innovation. The genesis of the innovation pertains to how innovation is created and developed. Innovations are typically created using a top-down or bottom-up approach. Typically, innovation takes place in a firm either employing a top-down approach or bottom-up approach. In the top-down approach, the firm identifies a problem. It recognizes a need for a solution and develops the innovation for the user's benefit. Companies such as Tesla and Honda continue to develop innovation offering through customer-centric top-down approach. Whereas in a bottom-up approach, innovation emerges from the employee or customer of the organization. Here, the employee or the customer identifies an opportunity for improvement, develop the idea, and implement the idea at their organization. Companies such as 3M and Google are known for their customer-centric bottom-up approach for innovation. While firms pursue both top-down and bottom-up approach, research has identified that a blend of two approaches bodes well for firms. A customer-centric approach is critical to adopt by firms to receive better diffusion and engagement in crisis. For example, innovations during COVID-19 pandemic time, such as a low-cost ventilator designed by engineers and engineering students and doctors was a great success. Hence, technology-based customer-centric innovation exhibit unprecedented scope to achieve a higher level of engagement and firm performance and contribute to the greater good of the society. So here are a few examples of firm-led R&D innovations. To detect pedestrians with fever as they patrol the street amid coronavirus crisis, Shenzhen-based tech firm developed the smart helmet N901, which is equipped with AI-powered infrared camera for the Chinese police. And another example is of a robot where a Tokyo-based hotel employed this friendly robot named Pepper, who is there to serve the guest and to greet the guest and spread positive messages such as, "I hope you recover as quickly as possible." A sustaining way of providing customer experience during pandemic time. Another example is of a robotic platform for providing safe and scalable goods delivery in cities. This able to create various goods and deliver them to customer, granting minimal contact with delivery staff, an innovative channel of delivery. Sometimes multinational firms develop innovation in the constant environment of emerging markets and innovate a frugal innovation, and after some time place them in the developed market to serve to a new usage-based segment. For example, GE innovated a baby warmer to serve to the remote segment in India and placed him to the private rooms of the US maternity clinics to keep the baby closer to the mother. Likewise, another product, Venus Go, used AI to innovate a tool to provide line diagram and follow the progression of lung conditions. A recent study, in fact, suggested the direction and guidance to the firm in the context of developing such as reverse innovation, describing that a firm can create an innovation offering in the emerging market if they understand the unique customer needs of emerging market and are able to define it in a scientific way. Along with that, if firms are locally responsive, that is, firm is able to respond to the local requirements and problem in emerging markets and are able to employ technology bricolage, which is the making use of the available technology which is available on the shelf in order to provide a solution to the problem. Offering having the provision of feature enhancement in a frugal way based on the developed market needs can convert the innovation in reverse innovation. Such innovations can generate high level of customer engagement given that the firm is able to identify the right segment and the product application in the developed market, which ultimately provides tangible outcomes in form of competitiveness at a global level and firm performance more in terms of high revenues, and intangible in form of knowledge capital and firms learning. This model enhances the usability of innovation where modifications are required with a change in the market context. The customer-led innovations highlight the criticality of customer as an information source of the environmental disruptions, problems, and to provide possible solutions to that. Such innovations, especially in emerging markets, are known as Jugaad innovation, Grassroots innovation, and customer co-creation. Here is a C safety key, a contactless safety tool designed by a PBA student at Bennett University situated in Noida during this COVID time. To open the door, turn the handle, punch the key in an elevator or an ATM without coming in contact with the surface. Also, we got to see a Jugaad innovation where a teacher used a refrigerator tray to teach online by placing the tray on 2 containers, putting her smartphone on top of it, and solving maths problem on the piece of paper below the screen. Likewise, another example of customer-led innovation where a French designer created oversized transparent lampshade, allowing diners to eat in a personal bubble, protecting dining companion and maintain social distancing. We also see individual-led innovations emanating from grassroots to address the problems of the resource-constrained context, mostly of the BOP segment. For example, a doctor used thermocol boxes as baby incubators, which can be used in the remote area with no electricity. Can you beat it? Another doctor created a simple ventilator machine to help COVID patient to breathe. However, the challenges with such innovation comes mostly in form of lack of marketing, lack of funds to scale up, lack of customer awareness and trust in the innovation, which works as an impediment to realize the full potential of such innovations. My recent work on grassroots innovation, along with explaining the conditions conducive to sprout such grassroots innovation in the society, provides the solution to the challenges an innovator face in the process of diffusion and adoption of such innovation offering. The potential of such customer-led grassroots innovation is huge in form of not only receiving commercial value in form of revenues and profits, but also in form of non-commercial value such as social and financial inclusion these innovations can bring along with environmental sustainability. Let's look at the community-led innovations. These are the innovations that direct towards community development, where community come forward to provide solution to the broader level societal issues. For example, so many engineering institute students and faculty members came forward and designed low-cost ventilators and sanitizers during the time of COVID emergency in the country, such as Ruhodhar by Islamic University and IIT Bombay. In the absence of sufficient deployment of funds, Jammu and Kashmir police team themselves created a feet-operated hand wash machine. Another example, doctors from Nagpur invented a COVID-safe transportation system for COVID patients. So to achieve the desired outcome from these community-led innovations requires a few conditions to be met. We explained those contingency factors in our recent study conducted on new age technology-driven social innovation, where we explained the critical role of technology readiness index of the users, the importance of community engagement, the imperativeness of marketing support, the role of country infrastructure and users' willingness to adopt the innovation in order to achieve the positive outcome at firm level, customer level, and community level. And at the last, I would like to present the 3C strategy for technology-driven innovation in the time of crisis to bring forward the required customer engagement and I would say the required stakeholder engagement. The first C is collaboration. Collaboration between key stakeholders who share a common goal and possess complementary skills and resources. The second C is concurrence, that is achieving synergies between core business activities and social good activities to achieve greater stakeholder engagement and wider social impact. Finally, the competence. the required technology related capabilities to be established and nurtured at all the levels, the firm level, the consumer level, and ecosystem level. Thank you so much for your patient listening and for your time. I look forward to interact with you all and take your questions soon. Thank you.
A very good morning to all of you. It's good to see you all here today, virtually of course, and I'm looking forward to sharing my personal learnings and insights with you through this session. Before I begin, let me quickly take you through the overall agenda and what all points we will be covering in this session. First, the changes instigated by the pandemic, some of the key changes in consumer behavior, and then I will share some of key strategies or focus area, so to say, to look at for connecting and engaging well with the evolved customers in the post-COVID world. So let's begin. Well, we all know how the pandemic has changed our lives completely. This sudden worldwide spread of COVID-19 has caused multiple repercussions on how we do things, how we behave, and how we perceive to. Okay, so with the pandemic, there were various norms we had to follow, including strict social distancing and confinement to our home space. At the beginning, no one would have thought this phase will last for so long, but it did. Yeah, it did. And with time, we started building new ways and habits of doing things. Our work, learning, communication, shopping, entertainment, as well as the way we spend our free time at home went through a major transformation. Remote working became the new way of conducting our work. Our education shifted to e-learning mode. Shopping majority is being done online now for many of us. Also, with regards to our health and well-being, we started opting for telemedicine or online doctor consultation services. Even the online entertainment, even the online entertainment channels saw a huge spike in the number of users. The progress we have made in the past few months is something that was expected only in the next 5+ years or so. Okay, so while we all change as individuals, we also evolved as customers too. This progress brings together its own set of new challenges too for businesses to carry out their work and continue to provide the best services for the customers. And the obvious question for any business is to figure out ways to tackle the new challenges and design the right strategies to engage well with this new age consumers, the change consumers. So let's have a look at some of the tactics or strategies we can adopt to able to engage and serve the post-COVID customers well and continue to grow the business and brand love. Understand the consumer. First and foremost, it's crucial to understand your customers, and especially the new change one. It's always best to put in some efforts into analyzing the data available to know more about your customers, what they liked or don't like, know how they feel at various stages of consumer journey, identify any alterations in their preferences or expectations. This understanding will be very crucial for your future growth of the business and can go a long way in continuing to provide a good and delightful, I would say, customer engagement and customer experience. Okay, just the first one, because your consumer is changing. So first one is that you have to understand the consumer very well. That's one of the first important thing. Now the second one, understand the consumer journeys. Okay, so take a good look at the overall consumer journey, your customer. Okay, the starting from being awareness to advocacy. There are multiple things that he is working on. So understand that consumer journey pretty well. Know how they travel through these different stages. Identify any loopholes and work on fixing them. Okay, check if there are any major concerns so that you can take control of it and rectify it quickly. The mantra is how to make this customer journey very much frictionless. The third one is understand and plan for a customer touch point. So while there have been so many changes overall, there is a high possibility that the way your consumer connects with you will change too. Make sure that you understand and are very aware about all these existing touch points, as well as to actually understand the importance of all these touch points during this consumer journey. So analyze the functioning and efficiency of the same, and if it required, be ready to plan and better the aspects of that you feel can affect the experience while communicating with the customer. Okay, so make sure that this particular consumer journey across all those touch points are very much frictionless. The fourth one is create not just engagement but experiences. Okay, so it is definitely essential for a brand to engage well with their customers. However, don't neglect the power of experiences. The overall experience you provide to your consumer is what is going to be making sure that you stand out from the rest of your competition and gain their confidence as well as loyalty in and that brand love that you want to have. Okay, so work on strategies and newer ways to provide a seamless as well as delightful experience to your customers anytime they happen to reach out to you, or they connect with you, or they communicate with you, or you communicate with them, or shop with you. Okay, so make sure that that experience is very much delightful. It makes a lasting impact on them. Customer may not remember every interaction or every small detail of when they had reached out to you, but they will always remember how you make them feel and what kind of experiences you provide to them. So make it count. Okay, the next one is personalization. Okay, this personalization, we should be very helpful, but it should not be very spooky too. Okay, so we all know personalization plays a key role in staying connected with your consumer and keeping them engaged with you as a brand. It's also important aspect that makes them come back to you again and again. So yes, focus on making their interactions with you as much personalized as possible. However, be aware of where you need to draw a line. Okay, so it should not be overdone. Okay, it should not be spooky. Overuse of a personalization can creep them out and often offend them, leading to a backlash. So make sure that the personalization should be helpful to them. Okay, the next one I would say is be agile and continue to adapt. Okay, so change is an ongoing phenomenon. Okay, it's happening, and we have seen how changes happen over the last 1 year. So a customer will go through rapid changes with time. We have seen it. Make sure that you keep up with those changes, understand it, and be agile to adapt with changing consumer. That's the key to continue providing them your best services and also keep them happy, which will definitely add up to the growth of your business. So yes, these are some of the strategies you can use to continue building your brand, growing that business, improving the brand love, and most importantly, delighting that new age consumer that we are experiencing. I'm sure this will keep changing too, and with time as we further progress and evolve. So thank you very much. Looking forward to interact with you more. Thanks a lot.
We're going to talk about customer intimacy in the social distancing era, as the world is, in some sense, beginning to be since early 2020 in some parts of the world, and from March 2020 in India. The oxymoronish word of social distancing has come to be a part of a vocabulary. And today we will look at customer intimacy in this era of social distancing. Before we sort of get into what is customer intimacy and has it changed in the social distancing era, there are two things that have sort of seemingly opposites of each other, which have for a long time occupied my mind space. One, any student of management, anyone in the field of business dealing with technology or even remotely connected with technology knows is we have an obsession for change. This obsession for change has been drilled into our paradigm right up to the point saying that change is the only constant, which is the most cliched and perhaps abused of all terms. If you look at change per se, it is inevitable. There are two ways you can look at change. One is either participate in it as someone who follows the process of change, or the other way of looking at change is we could be someone who sparks the entire process of change. In other sense, that's in some way a distinction between what Grainer would have called the revolutions and evolutions. What seems to be in a world of change, differing, is a dilemma that has been long thought through by multiple people. In fact, what I'm reminded here is the wonderful passages from Alice in Wonderland, the kind of hypothetical conversation between a caterpillar and Alice, who basically goes on to say that since morning, he has changed a number of times because the end of one is the beginning of the other. And Alice herself continuously changes. But in this era, what do we really look at? While change may be the fact, it is continuity which is more important, because some things that don't change at the human dimension is our need for service, is our need for customer intimacy, is our need for interaction. What might change is the mechanics of these things. So rather than looking at distinct or discrete or even continuous process of change, we must start examining the dynamics of continuity and seeing how continuity can bring about fresher thinking paradigms. The other thing that all of us have been subject to, almost like making your ears ring, is this much abused term called the new normal. Normal itself is a funny word. If you look at a classical definition of normal, it's conforming. Conformance is the antithesis of progress. Conformance and standards may be useful for measure or for compliance reasons, but when you want to bring about service, there's nothing like compliance. You want to bring about other paradigms which sometimes go outside the norm. So this thinking of what is normal and this thinking of therefore change causing a shift in the normal is in itself flawed. I think Robert Iger put it beautifully when he said, the riskiest thing that we can ever do is maintain status quo. The best way is not to fix something when it's broke, anticipate it and change it. So going back to the paradigm of change and continuity, one of the things that we've been obsessed with is you have to be paranoid to survive in this world. Survive is itself a weak word, of course, with due apologies to industry titans like Andy Grove, who've written about this and talked to us about how, why, and the how and the why of being paranoid. The more important underlying word is, do we adopt? Because in a world which is changing, where continuity is required so that it can progress can go on and we can get on with our business, it's more important to not just look at what we do to survive, but how we thrive. Nature has taught us this evolution. Look at the score of T-Rex versus the Homo sapiens. The Homo sapiens species, which actually has now been classified as, or for a while now, it's just not now, has having evolved from about 8 distinct subspecies into what is now converged as a Homo sapien race, which has got wonderful ways of both creation and destruction, has clearly showed that adoption is the key. Over the last 100 years, perhaps, we've been punctuated with multiple things. And one such punctuation is the COVID era. And what's important now to see in the context of continuity, change, and the more important thing as to how to adopt from getting stuck into an obsession on what is normal or what is a new normal, is how quickly we are able to conceptualize space and time in both the pre-COVID era and in the after-COVID era. No one knows at this point in time when we are going to really see an after-COVID era. The pre-COVID era is well known to us. A lot of our memories and paradigms of service, whether it's customer intimacy or customer service, is built with the paradigm of the pre-COVID era. Since the so-called change has happened at a very sharp rate and it's caused a disruption, we seem to have lost view on continuity. Interaction for us, we imagine in a confined space, in a confined time. So if we step back, the characterization of where human interaction takes place was very well defined by Japanese philosophers, Nishida Kitano and his bunch of researchers, who defined interactions as something that take place in a location. So we call it a place. There is a scene of action. It could be a meeting. It could be an exchange between two individuals, which is an interaction. There could be an occasion, like you're buying something or you're selling something, depending on who you are in the two parties. It could be any other kind of interaction, just an informal meeting, or it could be an exchange of ideas. So the occasion defines what it is. For every meeting which has got a place and scene and an occasion, there's an ambience. You might be having a meeting in a golf course, and you still could be discussing business, and there is an element of customer intimacy in it. So the ambience basically gives you situational clues as to how you conduct yourself. And according to the situation, there's also an appropriateness in terms of a modicum of behavior, which is where the artifacts of culture come in. What is right and what is not right. In a formal meeting, what do you do? How do you dress? How do you talk? How do you interchange? How do you exchange business cards? All of which go on to creating the customer experience or the customer interchange process, which defines how two entities, whether it's two businesses or a business and a product, interact in the entire consumption. This paradigm of physical space-time has been embedded in us for several centuries, and more so as we've modernized rapidly and created a very distributed work model. While we're able to ship work across 10,000 miles, we seem to be stuck in a paradigm that if it's got to be delivered, for instance, I speak now from the world of, let's say, outsourced services in the Indian IT and ITES industries, why is it that we didn't think 18 months back about moving the work from physical confines to a distributed model? Because the irony is the work was anyway distributed. A part of it would be outsourced, let's say, to a destination like India and many other parts of the world, or in multiple parts of India, and it would get delivered in the just order to the aggregate. But we didn't seem to have the ability to think to break up that part. I think simply because we have this obsession that a physical place is important to get a scene of interaction going between people, which is dependent on occasion and the ambience, which in a large way adds to the work that is there. This is one thing, if at all, that has to change, because the continuity of customer contact and customer intimacy will not change, because human evolution has not jumped a clock in 18 months. All it has done over the last 18 months is it's turned the concept of our physical space inside out to a virtual space. Now let's look at a simple framework to understand where the challenges that would come in a service intensity matrix, which was popularized by James T. Boole, a professor whom I had a delightful time learning in my stint at NCI. If you look at this picture, it's extremely self-explanatory. The two axes, you can imagine most of life is in a 2x2. You have a high level of interaction or a low level of interaction, and there's customization and standardization. So whether it's the pre-COVID era or the post-COVID era, what we need to really look at is if the interaction between the customers and the company, or the clients and the company, as you wish to call them, is requiring a high level of interaction, and the service delivery is at that point highly customized. The post-COVID era that we are talking about, a lot of adopting is required to be able to continue that high level of interaction and maintain the level of intimacy by customizing it. So what has got to change is our conceptualization of bar and bar show, which basically is a physical space or a scene that we just saw a moment back, to turn that into a paradigm which is more or less likely to be hybrid. And what I mean by hybrid here is a part of it will happen in the virtual world, a part of it, when it gets safer, will happen in a normal world, and the interaction will just continue as it is. But if there's a low level of interaction, and it could be highly standardized, that process of customer intimacy has just gotten redefined seamlessly and beautifully. For instance, even in some industry which we thought would collapse, like a service-intensive industry in some sense, like a place where you can go for a holiday, be it in the form of a hotel or a room share or whatever it is, or a property share in one of the platforms, the low level of interaction has come basically as a boon because technology has stepped in. You don't need a high level of interaction, human interaction, which is a cause for concern in this current pandemic scenario. You can make everything automated by use of technology, reduce the human interaction dimension to low, degrade it, standardize a lot of your services, and voila, you have a world which is just absolutely normal. It looked like this, which is being shown. There's evidence in the fact that, for instance, if you take a popular holiday destination in India, which is Goa, you can't keep people away from Goa. There's a reinvention of staycation. A vacation has now become a staycation. People don't mind living in isolated bubbles where there's low level of interaction. So the service has to be standardized. Now, as and when, let's say, things change and we're able to regress back, what I mean is purely from the point of view of the paradigm of service that we wear, and we need a high level of interaction when, as and when the situation permits that, and we can be a bit more social as we were about 18 months back, then the very same properties can move easily back into a high level of interaction where there is customer intimacy even at the point of contact, where the process of, let's say, registering into a hotel, availing the service could be highly customized based on the kind of affordability and price ranges that you look at. So if you look at the service intensity matrix quite closely, you can see how it can fit into almost anything. There is one thing when you go to, let's say, a place where you want to pick up gourmet wine and cheese, you might want a high level of interaction, as in look at the shelves, look how beautifully it's stocked, see what are the options, and then pick up, possibly in conjunction with your spouse or someone who's going to help you make a selection. So at that point in time, you might miss this high level of interaction because there's someone who's sophisticated in their knowledge of, let's say, the wine and cheese, who may offer you the advice on what wine to pair with what cheese, or when to have what, or what kind of crackers would be nice, or what other things that you can buy, perhaps a cigar, not that I'm expecting or encouraging people to smoke. But that high level of interaction and customization might be missed at this point in time, but can be selectively and safely introduced with technology that ensures that there is a barrier in some sense at the level of interaction to give the necessary safety to the people who are interacting. At the same time, if you know what you want to buy, once you've made the selection, which can even possibly go on in a virtual world of interaction, you could simply refer to degrading that interaction down to a low level of interaction, offer it through a standardized gig model where you can order online, you can continue the customer intimacy, so you can slide down the level of interaction between low and high and offer services between customized and standardized, depending on what the situation permits and the sophistication of the interchange that's happening between consumers on the one side and the providers on the other side. So all that we need to really re-examine in the post-COVID era is, are we now ready or open to change our mental models from the bar show model that had clear distinctions as this is the place where you live, this is the place where you work, this is the place where you are social, which is now sort of coalesced and mixed and congealed into one space where you can blow out to a high level of interaction by switching it to the pre-COVID era kind of interaction, or you can progress forward to reduce the level of interaction, go through very standardized delivery process, and continue to maintain the level of intimacy because with your customers and consumers, simply because nothing has changed in terms of the customer intimacy paradigm or the way value is seen and delivered. If value is delivered, people will accept the change in interface. If value is not delivered, it doesn't matter if the interface is changed. In any case, you're going to have attrition as far as consumption of your brand, be it products or services. Yes, having said this, there are services which cannot be delivered with low level of interaction, which requires a high level of customization. The world will find a way to change and to be safe and allow that. Those largely would be essential services. Most other services, you can move down the level of interaction, which offers you enormous scope to expand between the levels of customization that you want to have, which provide the higher degree of interaction and therefore a premium experience, to a high degree of standardization and a low degree of interaction, which offers convenience to you without changing the paradigm of service. Thank you. So in short, it's business as usual. I don't see too much change. It's continuity that matters. So what really will count is people who are able to take this opportunity and move forward is how well they adapt and not be obsessed with what is the new normal, because there is nothing like it. It is normal.
Lovely. I think I'm short of words. I'm really short of words. It was an excellent session that we had this morning. What a wonderful and a lovely Friday morning, talking all about business and strategies, and coming from 4 different eminent panelists cut across the country and the world. And while we in India are getting ready for lunch, there's somebody who's probably skipping his breakfast and coming live on us. And thank you very much, Dr. Stigliano, and I hope we are not depriving you of your breakfast. Please do enjoy your breakfast. But yeah, thank you very much for being with us such early morning and connecting with us. Thank you, Mr. Krishnan, Mr. Shijale, Professor Dr. Gupta. It was an excellent, insightful session that we have had. I'm not so sure where to start, but probably I'll go in the same order, because there's some very, very different lines of thinking coming from 4 different panelists. Somebody's talking about need to get into the past to think for the future, while business leaders say past doesn't guarantee future. But here we are coming up with a new perspective for a new environment. And it makes it very interesting for me to probably request Dr. Stigliano to put some more thoughts into his perspective. So on the one hand, we have the pandemic. On the other hand, we have asked to sort of explore the future by running backwards, not even walking backwards or crawling, but running backwards. Big challenge. How does one settle down? How does one embrace this kind of a challenge when everything is going against you and you got to swim against the tide? Dr. Stigliano?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I actually had breakfast in the middle of the night, so I'm fine.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great question. And of course, I don't have the answer. I guess what we should say is that it's been said that if we want to make history, we have to know history. So yes, of course, we should learn from the past. Yes, of course, we should get the most out of what happened. But at the same time, as I said, there is no playbook for this. We've not been trained for this. This is probably the first time in history that the depth and the intensity of something happens to the whole world, and we are all in the same boat. So I guess events like this one, when we all take the time to think and to exchange experiences and thoughts, are exactly where we should start from. Again, there is no playbook. So probably one thing we should do is learning from startups, or if you want, learning from doctors, the same doctors who developed the vaccine. You know, for them, for both, right, startups and doctors, when you fail, it's not a real failure. It's part of the process, right? It's something you have to go through if you want to get somewhere else. So I guess we should develop sort of a culture of failure, sort of a culture of trial and error, because again, there's no playbook. We have no idea. We've not been trained. So lean startup process, entrepreneurial mindset, or if you want, the same mindset that led our doctors to work together, to cooperate, collaborate, and to develop something that hopefully we will get everybody out of this pandemic very soon.
Okay, that's really nice. I mean, much as you said you didn't know the answer, you gave a very good answer. And I think a lot of food for thought for us there. Moving on to our next speaker, Dr. Shefali Gupta. Again, a very, very insightful and a very different approach. How can we use innovation And today the buzzword is all about customer centricity, customer engagement, co-creation. I mean, some of the 3 C's that we can put up together also. How does one talk about collaboration even while talking about strategy, competitive advantage, fighting competition? On the one hand, we talk about fighting competition, we talk about competitive advantage. On the other hand, we're talking about collaboration. So who would this collaboration be with? And how does one get into that DNA more? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the question, which is quite pertinent to the current times also. I see collaboration. I see collaboration more as a mean to reach out to the goal.
Okay.
And hence, if when we look at the collaboration, it is certainly when we have the purpose in hand.
Okay.
Look at the companies when we have the purpose of making the bottom lines fat. Can we really think of the triple bottom line approach where we say that it is not just the economic, like the bottom line we want to touch base, but along with that, we are also looking at the social and the environmental bottom line. And I think we cannot be any, better than, compared to this time when the COVID says it is not just about the money. You may have the money in your bank accounts, but if you do not have the environment conducive to your need, then it will be of no use. So that is where I feel that having the purpose in hand, where we see that can we be beneficial to the society and to the environment. And when we talk about the environment, we talk more about sustainability. And when we look into the sustainability of the environment as well as the community where we work in, I believe the sustainability and collaborations will come automatically. So collaborations here more in terms of if we take the first step ahead and collaborate with our stakeholders. So when we look at the stakeholder and community, if community is my stakeholder, then I will reach out to them and will ask that what else I can do for you. And hence the downstream innovation starts.
Okay.
So where the downstream innovation says that we innovate rather than we innovate for you, can we reach out to the customer and ask that, what do you have in your mind, and look into the creative aspects of our customers. So hence another 2 C's along with those 3 C strategies which I proposed is culture and creativity. So once we have that, like that DNA grain in our company or in firm or anywhere, I have been listening your, few of the talks in the morning, we're talking about the brand love. So even for that, I believe that the creativity is must, because once we have that creative mindset, we all are in the standstill position, right, at this point in time. So we have to come out of it, and the only way to get out of it is creativity. So collaboration with all the stakeholders, whether it is my customer or it is my community or it is my suppliers, and then listen to them and reach out to them. And that is where we feel that the customer is, at the core. And hence a very appropriate, like we are in the emerging market setup here in India, particularly if we talk about that, the grassroots innovations are, is a buzzword, and people are coming up with their own innovations to make their, to come out of this crisis situation. So I believe there where the collaboration is something, when we look into the, the way to reach out to, the mean to reach out to the goal is something which is important.
Can't agree with you more, because today when we talk about strategy, when we talk about fighting competition, we are saying more than competition, we call them as collaborators, and collaboration is the way forward. How you find that collaboration is innovative itself. So being creative and innovative to try and find that collaboration. So very well said and very aptly said. Thank you so very much. Mr. Prasad Shejale, you are all about customer, customer, and customer. And I think in today's marketing world and in tomorrow's post-pandemic, it's going to be all about customer. I mean, a great kind of an insight. But it also brings about some very, very interesting question in our minds. You are expecting the change to be continuous. And we're also saying, expect the unexpected. So it's only problems and problems and problems all the way. How do you get businesses and market to get motivated and address these consumers, even when they're facing the odds all the way around?
Okay, first and foremost, an awesome looking at the same topic from different perspective. I really, last 1.5 hours were really enriching for me. As you rightly said, as a practitioner and interacting with brands to, reach out to their consumer in a so-called post-COVID world or a new normal. Okay, so consumer is always on my mind. As of now, also there are pitches and what we do. Okay, so that. So the way I understand your question, okay, is you're saying there are challenges. That's what you're saying, and can you repeat that? Because
Yeah, sure. There are challenges all the way through. Like today we had a pandemic, and there's no guarantee there can't be another pandemic tomorrow.
Fair enough. I think
we are also telling the customers that we're telling the businesses and the business leaders continue to expect the unexpected.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting one. I think, but that is where it's just that what happened in last 8 to 9 or 1 year is that the speed at which the changes happened really got accelerated. Okay, there are 3 types of changes happen. One is that there is a change happens. All of us saw that digital is going to be the one of the most important touch point. We knew all of that, but it just accelerated. It just accelerated. Everyone was saying it's coming, but we just fast forwarded 5 years. There are changes where a step change. What happens? It just moves, okay, and then it stays. It doesn't come back again, okay, but it stays there. And then another one is that is really a jump, okay. It comes there and just stays there. All of us had not thought about it. And the whole social distancing and wearing mask is something which is really came up new. And I think talking about, I think the ability of a business to understand these changes, okay, understand these trends much earlier and understand how the consumer is going to behave is the key. Those who could pick up the trends very well, okay, and those who could address to those trends, okay, are going to be the winners. Okay, so I think that's as a brand, all successful brands have done it, and there are brands who probably have picked up implicit needs, okay, and change the consumer behavior, right? It's just as some of us were saying about it is that the whole ability of businesses, all abilities of my business, the businesses to understand this change faster, accepting it, running backward, we talked about, right? Accepting it and quickly looking it as an opportunity. Okay, of course, opportunity not, doctor was talking about also not to have that, big fat profit I'm talking about, but opportunity to actually engage and create that experience is something going to be the future of it. So it's all about picking it faster, building things faster, to satisfy the consumer engagement and expectations. That's what I would talk about. It's always there. It's just the speed has gone up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Swami Krishnan, yours was completely different from the first 3 speakers. It was on a very different plateau. It was on a very different plane. And you had some very, very interesting matrices being put up and how to go about it. Can you try and help us bring it into perspective with some kind of an example in the Indian context of how your theoretical construct matched up very well with some kind of a physical output and a physical delivery from any one of the businesses in our country?
Thank you, Professor, and thank you, panelists. The reason why I think, let me also premise why I say what I say.
Okay.
I've been in this industry of technology for 36 years now. It's the 36th year running.
Okay.
Everything changes every year. So change for me is some sort of an obsession that people seem to have, but it's a way of life for me.
Okay.
Let me just give you one physical example of some innovative delivery. Here you have this famous brand Colgate. Everybody knows it in India. It's a global brand too, in one way or the other. You have Veda Shakti mouth spray. I'll give you a demonstration. You just take it. Supposed to be helping you in this so-called virus. I don't know what it does, but it created a pull for me to go and buy this. There's another way in which things are rapidly changing in India. For instance, for a few months, they looked at hotel inventory, which was unsold, and said it's all gone because the hotel room is not occupied, it's gone. An airline seat is not occupied when the plane takes off, it's gone. High fixed cost industries. Now look what people have done in the industry. I keep getting solicits from the Taj saying that come and spend a day at the Taj.
Okay.
So it's called a daycation or something. I can have my meetings there. They say it's sanitized. They now downgraded the rates and they said it's available at this price point. If the Taj is not for me, then let's say it's something else. The Royal Orchid is for me or whatever. Those brands are also innovating and responding. They're getting us back. They're getting us back with the level of reducing our fear of the so-called pandemic distancing. And this very word social distancing is oxymoronish. There's a physical distance because we are scared of transmission. Look what Fab India has done. Look what almost any Tom, Dick and Harry has done using a piece of cotton, which they were making into a fabric, like a shirt or a trouser that we can wear, into a mask that can be used, including a little niche here for putting a filter.
That's right.
Which just converts it into a little more of a defense mechanism to the N95, the W95s, and look how Wildcraft adapted. They still want to keep a guy like me who loves the outdoors to go outdoors. So outdoors is already distanced in one way. So there are a number of companies which are distancing. Yes, there's been a blip. The pandemic is a pause. It's not a full stop.
Right.
We got to move ahead.
No, I think all four of you have really brought in some very, very relevant, pertinent, and very apt perspectives. And that's what management is all about, having different perspectives and looking at it from all angles. But the bottom line is expect the unexpected. There is a new normal. Be ready for it. Go the customer way. Use new technologies, leverage on technologies, and keep it simple. Keep it simple. So with these words, I'm going to sort of thank you all very much, very profusely from Principal Ellen Wellinger Institute of Management Development and Research, Mumbai, for having taken time out and being with us this morning. And have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. Thank you so very much. God bless and all the very best.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
And you too.
Thank you to all the panel members too.
Yes, bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.